Many NFL fans are really surprised that a 6-time Super Bowl champion coach still is unemployed. And when you think about the Atlanta Falcons deciding to hire Raheem Morris over Bill Belichick, you have to think that that was a terribly bad decision on the behalf of the Atlanta Falcons, choosing to go with the guy who hasn't proven to win at the NFL level over a guy who's won 6 championships, somebody who knows how to win and how to build up a team like the Atlanta Falcons that is in a really good situation right now. The Falcons aren't one of those teams that they're in need of a 3-4 year rebuild. If they get the right head coach in there, they possibly could be a team that not only wins their division, but possibly could win a playoff game or two. And Bill Belichick, you would have thought that he would have been the ideal hire for Atlanta because their owner, when they got rid of Arthur Smith, said that they were looking for a head coach who has proven the ability to win in the past. And Raheem Morris doesn't fit the criteria Bill Belichick does. But an angle that not a lot of people are looking at this thing is that maybe Bill Belichick just didn't feel like the Atlanta Falcons were the right hire for him. You see, when the Atlanta Falcons brought Bill Belichick in on the interview, it was reported that the Atlanta Falcons are interviewing Bill Belichick. But really, Bill Belichick could have been the one interviewing the Atlanta Falcons to see if it was the kind of job that he was comfortable enough with taking, because he's only 71 years old and he's not getting any younger. He knows that his years of being able to coach are going down by the day. And if he wants to try to catch Coach Shula and be the most winningest coach in NFL history, he needs to go into a situation that gives him the ability to win as fast as possible. And the Atlanta Falcons weren't really the team for that. They're a team that was built to have a little bit of success, but they were never going to be a team that Bill Belichick was going to take over and they were automatically going to become Super Bowl contenders. And Bill Belichick, he hasn't really interviewed with too many other teams, which leads me to believe that it wasn't teams that weren't interested in bringing him in. It was just Bill Belichick just wasn't interested in coaching for those other teams. I'm pretty sure if Bill Belichick wanted that Carolina Panthers job, he could have gotten it. Same thing with the Tennessee Titans job and a bunch of other jobs that were available out there that he didn't interview for. But you see, when you're Bill Belichick and you're somebody who has won, having a lot of power, you're going to want to have a say and how your roster's built. You're not going to want to have to go to a team where you're going to have to answer to somebody. You're 71 years old. You're a 6-time Super Bowl champion. You're regarded as the greatest head coach in the history of the NFL. Why should you have to answer to somebody? And as an owner, it's hard having to give up that amount of control to a guy like Bill Belichick, telling your GM, hey, Bill's in, you're going to have to answer to him. That's tough. And when you bring in a guy like Belichick, who hasn't been able to show the consistent ability to win without Tom Brady, you kind of have a little bit of concern because you're like, okay, like, we know you're great on defense. We know what you have done in the past, but what have you done since Brady? Are you going to be able to find another great quarterback that can make sure that your offense is sustainable? We know that Josh McDaniels is a really good coordinator. He's not a good head coach, and that's who you're going to bring in to call the plays on offense, but we don't know if you can find us the right quarterback. And Bill Belichick is also one of those coaches that he's old school. He's all about being physical, disciplining these players. And when you're searching for a new team, if you're an owner, you think a little bit twice about hiring a guy like Bill Belichick because you think about how is he going to be able to connect with a younger roster, which the Atlanta Falcons have. The Tennessee Titans roster needs to get a lot younger. The LA Chargers have a roster that's a little bit of a mix of both. And when I'm an NFL team that's considering looking to bring in a new head coach, I probably would rather bring in a younger guy like a Ben Johnson or Raheem Morris versus bringing in a guy like Bill Belichick. You see, Bill Belichick, is only a good coach for a team that needs to win right away. If the Dallas Cowboys job or the Philadelphia Eagles head coaching job became available, those would have been better destinations for a guy like Bill Belichick as opposed to the Washington Commanders or Atlanta Falcons, who are teams that are a little bit younger, who need a younger head coach versus an older head coach who is trying to chase the ghost of the greats. And when you're trying to coach and when you're trying to chase the GOATs of the NFL when it comes to coaching, you need a team and a franchise that allows you to do that as fast as possible. Bill Belichick, he probably didn't want to go to a place that needed a little bit of a rebuild. He probably was looking at a situation that already had quarterback, already figured out, already had a little bit of talent. They just haven't been able to achieve with it. That's why a lot of people thought that he was going to go to Dallas if they fired Mike McCarthy or if the Eagles would have pulled the trigger with Nick Sirianni. I expect Bill Belichick to probably take a television job. I saw when he I saw when he did ESPN College Game Day for the Army-Navy game, and I was really blown away with how much charisma Bill Belichick has. I think he would be an awesome commentator if CBS, NBC, or Fox are looking to pick somebody up. Hell, I would love to see Tom Brady and Bill Belichick calling plays in the booth for Fox. Do you know how epic that would be? So Bill Belichick, he probably won't get hired by another team this year, even though Seattle would be a perfect fit. They got a fairly young team, but it's not a young team that is like Atlanta where maybe they need to get the quarterback right. Maybe they need to rebuild a couple of areas. Like the Seattle Seahawks are a young team that's built to win right now. I don't get why they wouldn't give Bill Belichick a call, but they want to keep the same energy in the building that Pete Carroll used to bring when he was the head coach. And Bill Belichick is the polar opposite of what Pete Carroll is. Pete Carroll is highly energetic, and Bill Belichick is more, I'm not going to say he's conservative with his energy, but he's more methodical. He's more meticulous with how he does things, and he takes a more business-oriented approach. You're not going to hear Bill Belichick cracking a lot of jokes with the players, and he doesn't get along with the media neither. So Bill Belichick, he'll be 72 years old around this time next year. Is there going to be a team that's going to be willing to invest in Bill Belichick as a head coach despite how up there he is in age? If I'm the Dallas Cowboys and I'm Jerry Jones, or I'm Philadelphia and I'm looking to find me a head coach who can win right now, I hire him. He immediately makes me a Super Bowl contender. Is Bill Belichick. But how many teams had jobs like that available? Not too many. Outside of Seattle and the LA Chargers, all of the other available jobs like the Carolina Panthers, the Tennessee Titans, they weren't jobs that Bill Belichick was going to be super excited to take because they are jobs that require rebuilds. And even with the Tennessee Titans, Rand Carthon runs that organization. Yeah, they hired Brian Callahan, but he's picking the coaching staff. He's assembling the team. Like, he just has complete control over everything with the Tennessee Titans. Bill Belichick, that wouldn't have been a great situation for him because that's the same reason Mike Vrabel got fired. Mike Vrabel got fired because it was a power struggle between him and Rand Carthon. And the Atlanta Falcons, they got a fairly young team with some really nice young pieces, but not enough to really entice a guy like Bill Belichick and say, oh yeah, I need this job because if you get me right away, we're going to be Super Bowl contenders. The only job that I thought Bill Belichick really was the perfect fit for outside of Atlanta was the LA Chargers because they already have a roster that's tailor-made to compete instantly. But if you can get a guy like Jim Harbaugh over Bill Belichick, who's a little bit younger and doesn't have the resume that Bill Belichick has quite in the NFL, but Jim Harbaugh has a pretty good resume that, you look at and you say, we rather take you over Bill Belichick because he's 71 years old. And plus, we know that you can win everywhere. Bill Belichick, we don't know if he can win everywhere. The only place that he's been able to win at has been New England. It's a little bit shocking that no team has hired Bill Belichick. It really is. Because with everything that he's accomplished, you would think that every team would have been lining up, fighting for the opportunity to interview Bill Belichick to become their potential head coach. But with his age, the fact that he still needs to have a good amount of say and, certain decisions that he can make with the team, he needs a certain amount of control because he is going to be 72 years old. Why would a 72-year-old who has 6 Super Bowl rings on his finger be answering to somebody who's 4 decades younger than him? It's kind of hard to tell somebody what they need and try to tell somebody how to build a team when you've been around way less than what they have. So it's a little bit surprising that no team has hired Bill Belichick, but I think a large reason why he hasn't been hired is because, one, he doesn't see the situation that fits him, and two, maybe he just has chosen just to not be coaching a team right now. Maybe they just aren't the best fits for him. It's easy to think that these teams are interviewing Bill Belichick, but really, how many of these interviews were Bill Belichick interviewing the owner to see if it was a situation that he wanted to walk into and wanted to coach? Because if you're Bill Belichick, you got to be really picky with who you're going to end up coaching for your last ever job. Because if you pick the wrong spot and it doesn't work out, that's going to be the last opportunity you ever have of not only being able to coach in the NFL, but also being able to chase the ghost of Coach Shula and being able to really submit yourself as the greatest head coach in this sport.